Look at me, a successful boss, a wife, a happy home. Do you think life is a success? That's what I thought too, when many years ago I married my quiet, perfect Marina, the girl I'd loved since high school. She was my rock. And then Alyona came along. I didn't want to betray her, but routine, boredom, and suddenly there was youth, fire, the life I deserved. I thought I was the most cunning, that I had it all, a faithful wife, children, a lover for the thrills. I didn't know that my safe haven had seen it all long ago, and that the true master of revenge wasn't young, an intriguer, but a woman you considered an open book. On our wedding anniversary, I was preparing for a surprise, but I got what I deserved, an icy, flawless blow that took everything from me. I lost more than just a house. Hello, dear listeners. I'm glad to welcome you. I present to you a new interesting story. Enjoy listening. Sergei left the office, a tall building, its glass walls shining in the sun, stylish, luxurious, and noticeable from afar. The Oil and Gas Administration is located here. Company Sergei heads the sales department of a company. It's a responsible position with a corresponding salary. The man pressed a button on his key fob. The alarm chirped. A brand new SUV, Sergei's latest car, flashed its headlights briefly in the parking lot in front of the porch. Now, he could afford many things he'd never even dreamed of before. Life was good. Personally, Sergei was also doing more than well. His loving and understanding wife, the quiet and calm Marina, never made a scene, never got on his nerves, never. She demanded something incomprehensible, like the spouses of many of Sergei's friends. Their spacious mansion was always clean and smelled of delicious home-cooked food. Marina worked as an elementary school teacher and managed everything around the house. It was nice to return to a clean and cozy home after a hard day's work. The children delighted her with their successes. Daughter and son, Irina and Matvey, were close in age. Once, as children, they would get sick, be capricious, and turn the house upside down. Toys were scattered everywhere, and surfaces were covered in handprints. And these, you shudder when you remember those sleepless nights. True, Marina always took on the lion's share of the care for their son and daughter. Sergei understood and appreciated this. It gave him the opportunity to develop and grow. Thanks to his wife's support, he got a second education. The man often brought home reports from work, and then his wife would take the children for a walk, so they wouldn't disturb their father. They both did everything for the sake of the family, for their shared well-being. His wife believed that Sergei would become a great man, and she was right, and so it turned out. Now Irina and Matvey were almost adults. They both studied at Moscow State University, but in different departments. By the time the children graduated, Sergei could already afford to pay for a decent education and living expenses in the capital. His daughter and son were lucky in this regard, unlike him and Marina at their age. Back then, they studied and worked part-time, and then combined all of this with caring for the little ones. It was a difficult time, but they persevered and overcame everything. Some moments now even brought back memories with nostalgia. They lived poorly. It was difficult, but everything was okay. They were equally happy because they were together. For Marina's sake, Sergei was ready to move mountains. Back then, in a sense, that's exactly what he did. If someone had told the man back then that he'd have a mistress many years later, he wouldn't have believed it. Why would he need anyone else when she, Marina, was there? Sergei had been in love with a beautiful classmate since school. But back then, the shy guy could only observe from afar the most beautiful girl on earth, who he was and who she was. A quiet, inconspicuous nerd couldn't claim the attention of one of the most popular girls in school. Marina always had admirers, confident guys who knew exactly how to talk to girls and didn't blush every time Marina spoke to them. But Sergei not only blushed, but also stuttered. His thoughts were confused. He simply stood there and blinked in response to Marina's request to copy his homework. Sergei's classmates often approached him for this. They knew the nerd was always prepared for class. Sergei was an excellent student, and it came easy to him. He enjoyed receiving. He craved new knowledge, and his particular love was the exact sciences, physics, algebra, geometry. He was genuinely surprised when one of his classmates couldn't handle what he considered a basic problem at the blackboard. By high school, Sergei realized he was much smarter than most, but he didn't become arrogant. On the contrary, he even felt a little sorry for his classmates who couldn't understand such simple things. His feelings for Marina only grew stronger with time. Sergei liked everything about her: her beautiful chestnut hair, her kind turquoise green eyes, a chiseled figure, a ringing laugh, even freckles on her slightly upturned nose. She was an extraordinary girl, calm and friendly, natural. Her classmates tried to stand out in every way possible, with bright clothes, bold makeup, and demeanor. Marina, however, didn't need any of that to be the best. He was distinguished by a kindness and modesty unusual among her peers. Yes, modesty, despite her stunning appearance and throngs of admirers. In high school, Marina began dating Robert, the recognized leader of the class, the son of wealthy parents, an athlete, everyone's favorite, a toned, pumped-up body, an excellent sense of humor, and wild charisma. At graduation, the boy and girl were voted king and queen of the prom by a majority vote. It couldn't have been otherwise. Sergei stared at Marina all evening. She wore a light pink dress that complemented her tan and beautifully hugged her slender figure. Perfection. The girl occasionally noticed her shy classmate's intense gaze and smiled warmly, a gentle smile illuminating his face with a special light. Another woman would have snorted, turned up her nose, or started flirting, but not Marina. Sergei thought then that this was the last time he would be near the object of his adoration. Later, they would enroll in different universities, and if they saw each other again, it would be only by chance, and very rarely. So the guy savored these moments when Marina was, although not with him, at least close. He tried to imprint her joyful face, her kind eyes of a stunning turquoise hue, and her gentle voice in his memory. Robert was always somewhere nearby. Sergei, of course, wanted to hope that Marina was just another infatuation for him and that the couple would break up soon after graduation. But Robert looked at the girl with loving eyes, anticipated her every desire, tenderly held her hand, and she blossomed next to him. It was clear that Marina enjoyed Robert's company and attention. There was love, mutual understanding, and harmony between them. After graduation, Sergei entered the Polytechnic University to major in engineering. An intense academic career began, during which the young man, he became completely immersed. It distracted him from sad thoughts about Marina. Time passed. Of course, Sergei had had brief romances in his life, but he had never felt anything like the feelings he evoked for Marina towards any of them. He tried not to think about her. Why? Surely Marina was already married to Robert, maybe even a mother. And yet Sergei searched for her with his eyes on the busy streets, in the university corridors, on the buses. Sometimes he saw a familiar silhouette, a chiseled figure, dark skin, shiny chestnut hair that never fell below her shoulders. At such moments, Sergei's heart would first stop and then begin to beat faster. But it was always not she, not Marina, and disappointment set in. When Sergei was already in his 4th year, their group was voluntarily sent to a premiere at the drama theater as extras. For some reason, the city administration needed a full house. Once there, Sergei realized that most of those present were there against their will. They were mostly young people, obviously students and school children. A few rows were even occupied by guys in camouflage, most likely soldiers from a nearby unit. Forced acculturation, concluded Sergei's classmate Pashka, looking around the room. "I've hated the theater since childhood," Sergei admitted, and it was the honest truth. His mother tried to instill in him and his younger sister a love of beauty. On weekends, she often took them to children's productions. Sergei, dressed in a stiff white shirt, was desperately bored, like his sister. Both would have happily spent time on amusement rides or at the movies. As he got older, Sergei avoided going to the theater. This was the first time he'd found himself within the walls of this establishment in about 10 years. He settled into his seat and looked around again. There were still a few minutes until the show started. So many people. And most of them, it seemed, would have happily spent the evening somewhere completely different. And suddenly, Sergei couldn't even believe his eyes. In one of the back rows, he noticed her, Marina. She was sitting surrounded by her friends. The girls were chatting animatedly and laughing softly. Marina still looked stunning, almost unchanged since graduation. The same hairstyle, the same dazzling smile from Sergei seemed to wash over her like a warm wave. He stood up from his seat and walked toward her. Someone shushed him. He stepped on someone's foot. It didn't matter now. Sergei walked toward Marina, not even knowing what he was going to say to her. "Hi," he said, drawing level with his former classmate. She looked into his face for a moment. Then recognition flashed in the girl's eyes. "Ah, Sergei," she smiled. "Did they bring you here too?" How nice it was for the guy to hear his name from her lips. It gave him confidence. "You look amazing," he said, the first thing that came to mind. Maybe not very appropriate, but sincere. "Thank you. And have you changed somehow? Matured or something? I hardly recognized you." Sergei really was no longer that skinny, pimply teenager who was too shy to even talk to his girlfriend. He'd gotten stronger, more confident, and learned to dress stylishly. He and Pashka had also been going to the gym for 6 months now. So, now Sergei could show off his new muscles, visible even under his t-shirt. Girls were paying attention to him, unlike before. Even Marina was looking at him differently now. Her eyes were clearly interested. Then the lights went out. The music started playing. The curtains slowly began to open. His show was about to begin. "Let's get out of here," he said. Sergei suddenly suggested. The words flew out of his mouth before he had time to think about them. What a stupid, inappropriate offer. Marina would now have to think about how to tactfully refuse him. "Go ahead." The girl smiled cheerfully. "I can't stand the theater." Sergei felt like the happiest man on earth. That evening they took a long walk around the city, ate ice cream, fed pigeons, sunflower seeds, and rode the carousel. The weather was amazing. Mid-May, warm, but not too hot yet, and dusty, like summer. The air was filled with the dizzying aromas of blooming lilacs, apple trees, and cherry trees. The former classmates communicated so easily and simply, as if they had not parted for 4 whole years. In all their school years, they had not exchanged as many words as they did that evening. "Why weren't we friends at school?" Marina was genuinely surprised. "It's so good and fun, Richu. I would have been a nerd back then. Maybe that's why. By the way, that's why I respected you, for your intelligence. I wanted to be like you back then, to understand all these formulas and charts, but apparently it wasn't meant to be." Sergei couldn't believe his ears. It turned out that Marina not only noticed him, but also respected him. While he'd thought the popular girl wouldn't even notice the boring nerd. Marina and Sergei were sitting on a bench in the grove. It was already getting dark. Music drifted from the embankment. The summer cafes had opened. An endless stream of people walked past, having decided to take a stroll along the river on a May evening. No wonder, the weather was simply fabulous. The young people were already a little tired from the walk and impressions. It seemed they had walked at least 100 kilometers. Both their legs were aching, but it was a very pleasant exhaustion. Neither of them was looking forward to going home. And finally, Sergei decided to talk about what was bothering him. Marina's personal life. "Are you and Robert still dating?" "Robert." Marina sighed heavily and immediately became sad. "Nothing worked out between Robert and me." It turned out that after school, Robert and Marina dated for about 2 more years, but their relationship was no longer so pure and sincere like in high school. Now the young people studied in different places. Both had new friends and interests. Handsome Robert quickly became the star of the class. He now had admirers around him, and the guy failed this test. From mutual friends, Marina began to learn that Robert was seen in one place or another with different girls. Meanwhile, he told her that he was studying for exams or was sick and therefore couldn't go out with her. At first, Marina didn't believe it. She loved Robert, cherished her first love, and strong, like she thought it was a relationship back then. She even thought her friends were making things up about her boyfriend out of envy. But one day she saw him hugging and kissing a red beauty at the mall. "So what?" Robert shrugged when Marina cornered him. "We're free people, not bound by any obligations. I'm not ready for anything serious yet. Let's break up if you're against freedom in a relationship." "I took it so hard," Marina admitted, looking Sergei in the eyes. "Our relationship meant everything to me, but it turns out he didn't attach such importance to it. Strange. All these years, I thought Robert loved me." Sergei couldn't understand Robert. What kind of fool would you him have to be to miss out on such happiness? After Marina's frank story, she looked sad and a little confused. It was clear that the memories of that situation still hurt her. "I'm so sorry," Sergei forced out. He'd never been good at reassuring people and didn't know what else to say now. But in fact, he didn't feel sorry. Yes, Sergei was angry at Robert for hurting Marina, but he was also happy. After all, Marina was free now, probably, and that meant he had a chance. "And do you have anyone now?" Sergei's heart began to beat faster. A lot depended on the answer. No, the girl shook her head. I still haven't recovered from Robert's betrayal. Now it seems to me that all men are like him. Not all, Sergei objected. I would never do that to you. Then the guy was sincere, confident in his words. But years later, Sergei repeated Robert's actions. However, by then he no longer considered it a betrayal. You're so good, Marina suddenly said, looking Sergei in the eyes. For some reason, I feel easy and calm with you. I've never felt so peaceful, or something. I wonder why. I know the answer to that question, Sergei decided. It's because I love you. I've loved you for a long time, since about 6th grade. I've thought and dreamed about you all these years. I guess it feels like it. That's why you feel this way when you're with me. I don't even know if it's possible to love more. Marina looked shocked. I don't even know what to do with this information, the girl finally said. I'm very pleased, and I don't want to part with you. They had been together ever since. Sergei couldn't believe his happiness. Marina, the girl of his dreams, was now by his side. They walked, laughed, and talked about a wide variety of topics. It turned out they had a lot in common. For example, they both loved animals. The young couple even volunteered for a while at a shelter for homeless cats and dogs. With Marina by their side, Sergei felt strong and almost omnipotent. For his beloved's sake, he found work as a foreman's assistant at a construction company. Balancing work and school wasn't easy, but now Sergei always had money for entertainment and gifts for Marina. He really wanted to make her happy, delight her, and pamper her. She was proud of her goal-oriented boyfriend and repeatedly admitted how happy she was about their chance encounter meeting at the theater. Can you imagine? This might not have happened, she said once. What an amazing coincidence. I would have found you anyway, Sergei countered. If not there, then somewhere else. I was constantly thinking about you. And thoughts are material, so it was inevitable. The guy really thought so. And then, an unexpected, but very joyful event happened. One day, Marina, terribly worried, told the guy that she was expecting a child. Sergei even felt a ringing in his ears. A storm engulfed him, incredible emotions. He's going to be a father. He and Marina are going to have a baby very soon. It's just wonderful. Such incredible happiness. The guy exhaled and hugged Marina tightly. I thought you'd be scared. I was scared myself, the girl admitted a little later. Nonsense. I'm so happy. I couldn't even see any other option for myself. True, I thought it would happen later, but this is even better. We'll be young parents. It's so cool. The parents on both sides weren't too happy about the news of the imminent. There was a new addition, but they didn't try to dissuade the newlyweds. They helped them with the wedding and even gave them a little money to set up their household. The newlyweds began living in Sergei's grandmother's empty apartment. His parents had taken the old woman in. It was a cramped space with a single room and a tiny kitchen. It had creaky wooden floors, thin walls, and humming pipes. The old brick two-story building was located on the very outskirts of the city. Nearby was a railroad, along which commuter trains whistled loudly. But the couple felt at home here. Happy, they lovingly furnished their nest, changed the wallpaper, painted the floors, and bought some furniture. Soon the apartment looked cozy and lived in. Money was tight. Sergei couldn't earn much yet. He considered dropping out of school to find a better-paying job, but Marina talked him out of it. What are you talking about? It's only a year until graduation. We'll get through it somehow, she urged her wife. Don't ruin your destiny, your career. You'll regret it later. Their daughter was born on time, a healthy, strong girl. Sergei was proud to be a father. Upon seeing his baby for the first time in the maternity hospital, the young father couldn't hold back his tears, touching the hospital staff. Yes, it was a difficult time, but also a happy one. Sleepless nights were added to the existing worries and problems. The young couple studied, worked part-time, and cared for the baby. They didn't have a single free minute at the time. By evening, both were completely exhausted. One would think that the news of his wife's new pregnancy, under such circumstances, would have caused a stir. Sergei felt negative emotions, but he felt joy again. I don't even know what to do, Marina admitted, confused. Why should we have another baby now? But I think I already love him. What should we do? What should we do? Sergei mimicked his spouse good-naturedly. Celebrate, of course. What else? We dealt with Arana, and now the situation is much better. We finished our studies. Now I'll find a better job. You'll be able to sit peacefully with the children on maternity leave. Everything is going well, in my opinion. With you around, it seems that everything is easy and simple. Marina smiled. That's how it is, Sergey assured her. Everything really is easy and simple. Matvey was born. 2 little ones, a new job, no money. The weight of responsibility weighed on Sergey like an unbearable burden. Sometimes it seemed to him that he couldn't cope, but the man didn't show his feelings in front of his wife. He saw that this was the hardest part. Marina tried not to burden her husband with caring for the children, but Sergey, when he was at home, tried to help her with everything. She became completely haggard. Dark circles appeared under her eyes. Circles. Only a shadow remained of the former beauty. Strangely enough, this made Sergey love Marina even more. She did so much for their family, carried so much on her fragile shoulders, and never complained. She also always tried to feed him something tasty. Sergey greatly appreciated her care and tried to repay her. Whenever possible, he would take the children and go for a walk with them for a few hours so his wife could rest a little. That's how they lived, solving many problems, working hard, trying to take care of each other. Over time, things were getting easier. The children went to kindergarten. Marina went back to work, getting a job as an elementary school teacher at a neighborhood school. Sergey's business was doing better and better. The family no longer on necessities. They weren't living in luxury, of course, but they could afford nice clothes and delicious food. They even started going on vacation to the seaside every year. And then things got better. Sergey, as a talented specialist, was invited to work for an oil and gas company. There, he quickly began to climb the career ladder and gradually rose to prominence to the head of the sales department. The family had long since moved from their grandmother's old apartment to a large, stylish mansion in a prestigious suburban community. Sometimes Sergey himself couldn't believe how wonderful everything had turned out for them. Rena and Matvey's parents sent them to study at a Moscow university. Their children deserved it. Marina had been very involved with them since birth, developing their talents, teaching them, and helping them with their homework. The results exceeded all expectations. Both graduated with gold medals. The children are almost grown up, and they have plenty of money. They have time. There's plenty of free time. The golden age has arrived when you can breathe a sigh of relief, relax, and live life to your heart's content. Sergey still loved his wife very much, but he began to notice her flaws. She'd gained weight, and the first wrinkles had appeared on her face. He spends entire days at his school. He only talks about her. It's somehow boring with her, not like before, when they could talk for hours about interesting topics, joke, and laugh. Perhaps this old age is creeping up on him. That's how it should be. Most likely, he himself is no longer a boy. The shortness of breath is gone. She showed up, and her belly grew. He should probably get checked by a cardiologist just in case, and sign up for a gym. The head of the department needs to look the part. And there she appeared in the office, the new HR employee, Elena, a young woman who had just graduated from university. Slender, big-eyed, cheerful and energetic, like a girl from a magazine cover, always stylishly dressed, well-groomed with manicure and makeup, fresh, charming, and the way she looked at him, at Sergey, as if he were a deity. Nothing less, so much respect and affection sparkled in the young employee's eyes. It was pleasant. Sergey often admired Alyona from afar, watched from the window as she walked to the cafeteria with the other employees, spotted her in the crowded hallways. So graceful, so elegant, like a ballerina. Later, it turned out that the man wasn't far from the truth. Alyona had been involved in ballroom dancing for many years, even touring abroad, hence her posture. Sometimes Alyona approached Sergey with requests. These were mostly work-related matters. The man was happy too. He was helping a young beauty sort out her affairs. And at the New Year's corporate party, the girl unexpectedly asked her boss to dance. As Elena herself later admitted, she had drunk too much, which is why she dared to do such a thing. "I liked you right away," the girl admitted then, hiding her eyes in embarrassment. "But who are you and who am I? Elena, you're a real beauty and you know it." Sergey could no longer control himself. Any man would be happy to be with someone like her, and so would I. "Let's go to my place," Elena suggested. "I'm renting an apartment." "Not far from here?" Sergey hesitated. But what about Marina? She didn't deserve such betrayal. But on the other hand, he immediately remembered stories of friends and colleagues having affairs. Many people live like that, and nothing happens. After all, He deserved this happiness, earned it through long and hard work, and his wife. But his wife. There hasn't been the same love and passion between them for a long time. Marina is completely immersed in her work. It seems she doesn't care about anything except school. Besides, he's not planning on leaving his wife or leaving family. It'll be a bit of fun. Who's worse off? Having calmed himself down in this way, Sergei went to Lena. He now had a young lover. Life took on new colors, with Elena by his side. Sergei felt young again, strong and energetic. The mere thought of the upcoming meeting with his young colleague lifted his spirits. They kept a low profile in the office. No one was supposed to guess there was something between them, although of course, rumors eventually began to spread. The need to hide from his colleagues gave their relationship a special edge sharpness. It was like a thrilling adventure. Marina was clueless. Sergei explained his regular absences as work-related. There was nothing unusual about it. He often had to stay late at the office before, work on weekends, and travel on business. His wife wasn't particularly interested in Sergei's work, preferring to talk about her own. Her story about the students was already making him sick, but Alyona devoted her full attention to Sergei, listening attentively, agreeing, and even agreeing with him. With her the man blossomed. Of course, he returned the favor, pampering his young beauty, giving her gifts, paying her rent, and sending her on vacation to the seaside. It turned out that being a patron was a very pleasant thing, especially when it came to a young woman with a flawless figure. Sergei tried not to think about the fact that Alyona was only slightly older than his daughter. What did it matter? The main thing was that they were happy together. Sometimes the man reflected on how well he had managed everything in his life. He had a faithful wife, a companion, a reliable shoulder to lean on. He has wonderful children, almost independent, smart, well-mannered and good. And then there's Elena, a girl who makes him feel young and strong. What more could he want? However, Elena has been increasingly complaining lately about missing him. Sergei spends all the holidays with his family, leaving her alone and sad. He didn't like these warning signs. It seemed their carefree relationship would soon end. Elena hints that it would be nice to take things to the next level. That's what I dream of, falling asleep and waking up with you, the girl once confessed, and calmly walking with you in public places without fear of being caught. Sergei pretended not to understand what the girl was getting at. He didn't want to change anything, but if this continued, well, then he'd have to stop communicating with Alyona. After all, it wouldn't be hard for him to find another girl to relax and unwind with. In his situation, it wasn't difficult. Alyona attracted Sergei with her youth and beauty, but he didn't have strong feelings for her, and he certainly didn't intend to. Because of her, she had to change something in her life. Marina returned home tired and with a headache. Today had been a difficult day at school. The inspection from the administration had arrived. Everything had gone well. The children had not let her down. They had worked actively in class, demonstrating excellent preparation. But the stress and anxiety had taken a toll on Marina's well-being. The woman took a painkiller and lay down on the sofa. Her son and daughter were studying in Moscow. Her husband was always late at work, so now she was home alone. Per silence of the empty. After the hubbub of the younger students, the mansion seemed like a miracle, bringing pleasure and peace. Marina, despite her headache, felt happy. Now, in their family life, the wonderful time of quarter had arrived. All the difficulties were behind them. The children had grown up. Now they were adults, independent people. Marina and Sergei were still young. They didn't have to save money. Her husband was a department head at a large oil and gas company. Marina worked not out of necessity, but out of interest. She enjoyed teaching children and interacting with colleagues, being in a group setting every day. And what was she supposed to do at home? Watch TV shows all day? Paint her nails? Sergei had repeatedly suggested she quit her job and take care of herself. The woman couldn't even seriously consider such a thing, becoming one of those languid slackers who lived in their prestigious village. No, thank you. Marina hadn't studied at the institute and had a solid work experience for that. She loved school and everything connected with it. Now proud she felt for her little students when they succeeded. The younger students responded to the teacher. With love and respect, they inspired her with an idea. Sergei once pulled her out of a painful breakup with Robert. Marina couldn't recover for a year and a half. She was in love with Robert Powell. She thought he, too, was at least a nice guy. He complimented her every day, swore fidelity, even hinted at marriage. For a long time, Marina didn't believe her friends, who said they saw Robert with different girls. But one day, she saw with her own eyes her beloved hugging and kissing another, and he looked at the red-haired beauty, looked at him with the same admiring eyes as he did at her. Of course, Marina threw a fit with Robert, accused him of betrayal, and called him all sorts of names. He listened to her hysteria with strange calm. Periodically, something like a smirk appeared on his face. "You act like I'm your property," the guy said when Marina ran out of steam and fell silent. "We're young, not bound by any circumstances. When else can we enjoy life if not now? But you said you loved me." Marina, she was taken aback by these words. She thought Robert would start making excuses, tried to come up with some kind of explanation. But he acted as if everything that happened was normal. He spoke and didn't lie. "You're beautiful, smart, kind, and even easy to talk to for a while. I really did have a good time with you. And now, what now? Now you're turning into a hysterical person, trying to hold me back. No, I don't like this. It's time for us to break up. Good luck." It's that simple. They were a couple for almost 5 years, and Robert is so easily ruined their relationship. He also called her hysterical and accused her of being clingy. It seemed like he didn't feel guilty at all. It turned out that all these years he hadn't truly loved her. Marina took the breakup hard. From an energetic, cheerful girl, she turned into an insecure, timid person. Marina couldn't trust anyone anymore, especially guys. This condition affected both her studies and her appearance. Her parents noticed that their daughter wasn't eating anything and was literally melting away. They were alarmed, even considering hospitalizing her. Then Marina pulled herself together and began to play the role of a happy student. Those around her calmed down, deciding that everything was fine. But Marina's soul still felt terrible. Time passed, and the pain from Robert's actions never subsided. And then there was a chance meeting with Sergei at the theater. Marina herself didn't expect it, but she seemed to thaw out in the company of her former classmate. He made her laugh, not for show, but sincerely, truly. The young people were walking around the city. They talked, discussing a wide variety of topics. Marina really didn't want to part with Sergei when evening came, and she honestly confessed it to him. He was delighted. His eyes lit up, a smile appeared on his face, and he said words that would leave no one indifferent. It turned out that Sergei had been in love with her since high school, admiring her from afar, writing her notes that he later couldn't bring himself to send. His confession made a strong impression on Marina. After Robert's actions, she considered all the guys traitors and womanizers, but for some reason, she believed Sergei right away. She felt very sorry for the boy she'd completely ignored at school. She wanted to make him happy, and she knew how. Marina and Sergei had been inseparable since that chance meeting at the theater. He tried to turn every date into a celebration. He did everything he could to make Marina feel comfortable around him. She noticed and appreciated it. She also couldn't help but compare Sergei and Robert Beeve. Compared to his new admirer, the former suitor looked selfish, and why hadn't Marina noticed this before? The relationship developed rapidly. One day, Marina realized she was expecting a child. She wasn't ready for such a serious step. She thought Sergei wasn't either. Marina was very worried about Sergei's reaction. How would he take this news? What if he got scared, got angry, ran away? At that time, the girl was more worried not about the prospect of becoming a single mother, but about the risk of being disappointed in the man she loved again. Marina understood that if Sergei betrayed her now, it would cause her such pain, a trauma from which she would likely never recover. But Sergei didn't let her down. Of course, the news of his impending fatherhood left him a little stunned, but surprise and confusion quickly gave way to joy. Marina watched as, in a matter of moments, one expression on the boy's face transformed into another. Joy appeared in Sergei's eyes, genuine, sincere. The girl understood everything, even before he opened his mouth. "I'm simply happy," he said then, and hugged Marina tightly. She breathed a sigh of relief. Of course, two senior students faced the challenges they never imagined. It turns out pregnancy isn't easy, and you can't earn much money without experience. The newlyweds had to juggle studying and caring for a baby. Sergei also worked part-time wherever he could, seizing every opportunity. Neither of them looked their best back then. Pale, thin, with dark circles under their eyes. But most importantly, the couple supported each other through everything. Sergei understood his wife with just a glance. She didn't even have to ask for anything. The young husband had guessed everything himself. Matvey was born a little over a year after Irena's birth. The worries increased, but so did the happiness. Marina still recalled those days with nostalgia. She eagerly awaited Sergei's return from work, who immediately took charge of the little ones. Meanwhile, Marina prepared dinner, after which the four of them always went for a walk. Marina pushed the stroller with Matvey, and Sergei held Irena's hand. When the girl got tired, her father would lift her onto his shoulders. That's how they leisurely strolled around the neighborhood, chatting about everything under the sun, making plans for the future. Sometimes they stopped at playgrounds so their son and daughter could spend their time on the swings. It was the perfect rest and recharge for both parents. Her friends envied Marina, and they expressed it quite sincerely and openly. Nowadays, most fathers are involved in their children's lives, but back then, men preferred to spend time in the garage or fishing with friends. Children, cooking, housework, all of this was considered strictly a woman's responsibility, and it didn't matter that the wives, just like their husbands, worked all day at work. After work, a second shift awaited the women in the kitchen. Sergei, however, never divided household chores into male and female. He could easily cook borscht, bathe the children, and mop the floor. He didn't even need to be reminded. Marina couldn't believe she'd landed such a wonderful husband. Even her mother, who had initially been cool toward her son-in-law, warmed to him after seeing him behave this way. Talented and driven, Sergei couldn't go unnoticed at work. His career was on the rise. The family acquired money, a new, spacious apartment, and a car. Then came a mansion in a prestigious community, travel, expensive clothes, and the latest appliances. They now had everything they could never have imagined in their wildest dreams, and most importantly, they managed to maintain love and understanding through the years. Marina was sincerely proud of her enterprising, intelligent husband. From the very beginning, as a child, he was far ahead of his classmates in intellectual development. Marina even envied her classmate Tikhona during her school years. How could all those formulas, numbers, and theorems fit Sorsely into his head? I wish he had that. But for her, algebra, physics, and other exact sciences were a complete mystery. Teachers, of course, forced her to get BS for diligence and hard work. But Sergei Saputhat was a completely different matter. Apparently, his son and daughter inherited his abilities. Both learned to read and count early, and they graduated from school with gold medals. There would have been classmates who teased Sergei for being a nerd and ridiculed him for his excellent grades, but the boy wasn't a nerd. Studying just came so easily to him. Maria understood this even then, as a child. Ultimately, Sergei's natural talent found a use. Now he was the head of a large department in a successful company. He was respected. His opinion was taken into account. Not a single important decision was made without him. Marina's own career path was much more modest. At first, she couldn't devote much time to work at all. She was busy with Arna and Matvey and taught a couple of lessons a day at the preparatory school. When the children grew older, Marina finally returned to school full-time. As a primary school teacher, she felt right at home. She found it easy and enjoyable to work with children of that age. She was able to engage the little ones and clearly explain even the most complex topics. Marina soon earned a reputation as a good teacher. Now people were eager to enroll her. They even stood in line to bring their children to her class. It was a great pleasure to receive such recognition for your work. Marina had often thought about how her life would have turned out if she and Sergei hadn't met at the theater. Now she was even afraid to imagine such a life scenario. True, recently her relationship with Sergei hadn't been as warm as before. Her husband no longer looked at her with admiring eyes, didn't admire her smile or the way she walked, and sometimes didn't even notice the changes in her appearance, her new hairstyle or a dress. But that's normal after 20 years of marriage. It can't be any other way. Marina's phone rang. The woman got up from the couch. She left her bag in the hallway. Hello, Vera's cheerful voice came over the line. Who's Marina's colleague? Hello, do you know why I'm calling? I wanted to ask. Did you buy an apartment in Cherry Quarter or something? What? Marina was surprised. No, we're not planning to. I think, so that means you have some relatives living there. Of course not. What kind of weird questions are you asking then? I don't understand anything at all, Vera said, confused. It's just that I see your husband's car parked next door almost every day. I was wondering if we'll be living next door soon or something. Sergei, it might have something to do with his work. Surely one of his colleagues lives there. Marina found an explanation that would definitely satisfy her friend, but she doubted it was work-related. The call disturbed Marina's peace of mind. Just a moment ago, she'd been enjoying the comfort and quiet of her home, planning to spend the evening watching favorite TV series. But now my head was filled with unanswered questions. The easiest way was to wait for Sergei and ask him directly what he did almost every day in Cherry Blossom Quarter. And in the evening, too. My husband often came home late, saying he had a lot of work. Marina had always understood and supported him, never been capricious or demanding of his attention. Work is work. She knew this all too well from personal experience. She, too, sometimes had to stay late at school. Some kind of inner feeling Marina was tempted to find out for herself, without turning to Sergei. She knew the house where Vera lived very well. A friend had told her that her husband parked his car somewhere nearby. She should go and see for herself what was going on. Marina didn't put it off. The very next evening after work, she drove to Vera's house. She parked behind the detached garage, facing upwards, so she could see the house, which, according to Vera, Sergei so often drove up to and remained unnoticed. It was around 5 p.m. sunny. It was already rolling towards sunset, painting everything around in a beautiful golden-orange light. Soon the courtyard was filled with people returning from work. Cars were also pulling into the parking lot. Marina watched them with particular attention. About 2 hours passed like this. The woman was already ready to leave. Perhaps her wasn't coming here today, or Vera had simply made a mistake, mixed up the details. Marina really hoped that her colleague was mistaken. But then the yard was filled with the sound of an engine and rustling again. The woman turned at the sound and froze. A new one was slowly driving out of the arch. Sergei's SUV. Marina's heart began to beat faster. A cold, sticky sweat broke out on her back. Through the windshield, she could clearly see her husband. He looked contented and relaxed, and next to him, in the passenger seat, a beautiful young woman sat, looking somehow too possessive. Marina still cherished the hope that her husband was simply giving a colleague a ride home. But when they got out of the car, she realized there was no point in lying to herself. Sergei gently put his arm around her companion's waist, and she pressed herself against him. It was very a natural, familiar gesture for this girl. Sergei was smiling and saying something to the young beauty. He was apparently joking, because she responded with a hearty laugh. So, arm in arm, the couple headed toward the entrance. Just outside the door, while the girl was searching her purse for the intercom key, Sergei pulled her toward him and kissed her. His companion playfully pushed him away, objected, apparently asking him to behave more discreetly in public. But Sergei was completely indifferent to the opinions of others. Marina hadn't seen him for a long time, so carefree and cheerful. The couple disappeared into the entryway. There was no doubt. Marina had just seen her husband's mistress. No other explanation for the scene that had unfolded before her eyes could be imagined. Tears of resentment welled up in her eyes. How could he, after everything they had both done for their family, after all the hardships they had endured together? Sergei knew how hard Marina had endured Robert's betrayal many years ago. Sergei had pulled her out of that difficult situation, made her believe in men again, brought her back. The joy of life. He loved her, and Marina had no doubt about it. Over time, the feelings dulled, became habitual, even routine. Perhaps Sergei got bored and decided to unwind in this way. But what about her? Didn't Sergei feel any guilt at all? At least, his behavior hadn't changed. Marina didn't suspect anything. He hadn't showered her with compliments or given her admiring glances for a long time. And for several years now, their conversations had revolved exclusively around the children. But sometimes they also discussed each other. Some stories from work with a friend. Nevertheless, Marina had no doubt that their feelings were still strong. The woman considered her husband to be the closest person to her, reliable as a rock. And now this. How painful, offensive, disgusting. Probably, it's all my fault. She'd gained weight lately, stopped taking care of herself, got too caught up in work, constantly pestered her husband with boring conversations about school, turned into a hen, and men love with their eyes. How many times had she heard this phrase? But she thought that this doesn't apply to Sergei's relationship. They have real feelings, a kinship of souls, and so on. It's her own fault, naive, lazy fool. Stop. Marina literally pulled herself together and hugged herself tightly by the shoulders. These are harmful, wrong thoughts. She's not to blame for it. And he stopped winding herself up. She was betrayed. She was cheated on. Her husband behaved like a traitor. What is her fault? Marina felt despair giving way to anger. Excellent. This is much better than self-reflection and searching for one's own shortcomings. Anger gives strength. It forces Marina to act. She won't stay with Sergei. Of course, it will be hard to break off a relationship that has lasted for so many years, but the woman will do it anyway. She will definitely do it. She won't be able to forgive Sergei, and how can she trust him after everything that happened? Marina didn't want to spend the rest of her life scrutinizing her husband. That would quickly drive her to a nervous breakdown. It was better to separate, to leave, but to leave gracefully. Marina realized she wanted revenge on her unfaithful husband and even went online to find ideas. The woman I was struck by the imagination of these devoted wives. Some ruined their unfaithful husband's favorite things. Others made videos of the couple's encounters and then uploaded them to chats with friends and family. Marina even briefly took a break from her sad thoughts. So captivated was she by these stories, but none of the methods suited her. They were too petty, too ugly. She wanted something more global, and of course, something beneficial for herself. A common phrase surfaced from the depths of her memory. Revenge is a dish best served cold. A folk saying wisdom. You need to take a breath, think everything through, and then decide. Marina started the engine and drove home. Sergei showed up after 10 p.m. As always, he greeted his wife with a smile. He refused dinner. He said he was at a business meeting at a restaurant, so he wasn't hungry. At a business meeting, he probably ordered takeout with his beauty. Marina felt herself boiling, just a little more, and she would tell her husband everything. The woman was always straightforward. Hiding and concealing was not in her nature, but it was necessary. Be patient. Marina hadn't yet figured out how to get revenge on her husband, so he shouldn't know yet that she knew. So the woman smiled pleasantly and complained about her husband being so busy. Acting as if nothing had happened was difficult, only at first. Then Marina got used to it. It's true what they say. People adapt to everything. And so it was. The woman decided to find out more about her husband's relationship. To this end, she spared no expense on a private detective. The professional did a perfect job. Very soon, Marina had everything in her hands. There were eloquent photographs and reliable information. Of course, it turned out that Sergei's mistress's name is Elena. She joined his company about 2 years ago, right after graduating from university. She's very young. The couple keeps a low profile at work. Sergei values his reputation, but outside the office, the man has a lot of fun with the young beauty. It turns out they've gone on vacation together more than once. Sergei also shows up at the girl's rented apartment almost every day. It's a good thing her attentive friend noticed the car. Sergei's car, parked in the parking lot. If it weren't for that, Marina would still be blissfully unaware. In the photos, her unfaithful husband looked in love and happy. Elena, she most likely viewed her relationship with Sergei as a job for which she received rather expensive gifts. The detective provided Marina with copies of receipts from jewelry stores and beauty salons, and Sergei spoiled his beloved with bonuses and salary increases. He was never greedy, but how could she get revenge on him? Maybe send these photos for the company director, or even better, make a slideshow on the wall in the lobby for all the office employees to see. The woman imagined how embarrassing and painful it would be for her husband, and probably for this Alyona too. A satisfied smile played across her face. She could borrow a projector from school. The plan was looking simply wonderful. But Marina thought about it. This sounded very much like one of those stories from the internet. Too dirty, too mean, too petty. After this, Sergei would have every right to be offended. And then about this story, the children would certainly find out how they would react to their mother's actions. Marina toyed with the idea a little longer, imagining the reaction of Sergei's colleagues. In her mind's eye, she saw his confused face, enjoyed Alyona's fear, and abandoned the plan. No, she needed something more elegant, and a solution was found. One morning, while getting ready for work, Marina was struck by an unpleasant thought. They'll get a divorce. The house will probably stay with Sergei. He loves this mansion very much, and of course, will pay his wife her rightful share, and he will live here. And then her husband would bring Alyona here. Or if not her, then another woman. That's right. Successful, wealthy men like her husband don't stay alone for long. And another woman would be walking through these rooms. And yet, this Marina had planned everything here. from the room's window placement to the color of the curtains. She had put so much soul into the mansion's arrangement. It was hard for her to imagine a new owner moving in. The very thought of it was painful, and Marina decided she would take the house, solving two problems at once. Firstly, he would keep his cozy little nest. Secondly, he would get his revenge on Sergei, who also adored the mansion. He'd said more than once that he felt calm and relaxed here, like nowhere else. So, there was an idea. All that remained was to decide how to pull it off. The house was registered as joint property. Accordingly, by law, in a divorce, it should be divided equally between the spouses. Marina wasn't concerned with the moral aspect of the plan, only the legal one. Sergei wouldn't be left on the street, while she invested all her time and energy into her children, while her husband climbed the career ladder. He worked hard and became successful and wealthy. He had his own separate accounts, hidden up for more than one apartment. Marina thought a lot about how to transfer the mansion to her name. The solution came to her one morning, right after waking up. She would sell the house to Oksana, her cousin. Getting Sergei's signature for the purchase and sale agreement would be difficult, but she would manage, and then, in the event of a divorce, they wouldn't have to divide anything, because the house would be hers. It would belong to Oksana, and then her sister would transfer it to Marina. Perfect. Marina was 100% sure of Oksana. As children, the cousins hardly interacted, except for the occasional playdate during family gatherings. Oksana considered Marina shy and boring. Marina, in turn, saw her cousin as narrow-minded, fixated on makeup, boys, and dating. As they got older, the sisters unexpectedly became friends. It turned out they had a lot in common. Now Marina and Oksana often stayed overnight at each other's houses. They confided in each other all their secrets. Marina was the first in the family to learn that Oksana was expecting a child with her boyfriend. They were only 18 at the time. Marina supported her sister, helping her endure the reproaches of her parents, who of course weren't thrilled with the news. Ultimately, Oksana was married to a boy who, like his bride, was completely unprepared for marriage. The parents chipped in, bought the newlyweds an apartment, and decided they'd managed everything perfectly. The children were legally married and had a place to live. They were expecting a baby soon. It's a bit early, of course, but nothing happens. It seems like there's no shame in front of people. Everything is done honorably. Oksana had a son, then another. After some time, a daughter was born to the young family. Marina helped her sister babysit the little ones. She herself was dating Robert at the time and thought that someday she would have a big and strong family like that. But Oksana didn't look happy at all. The children are a blessing, of course. She once confessed to Marina. But my husband doesn't value me at all. He's out with his friends, and I'm here alone. I'm struggling with the kids within these four walls. Talk to him, Marina said indignantly. It's not fair. Talk to him, Oksana smirked. You think I didn't? And what about him? Well, here he is. Oksana lifted her arm in her t-shirt and showed the astonished Marina the bruises on her forearms. Is he hitting you? He's not hitting. He's just pushing. He grabs you painfully and screams like crazy. He screams that I ruined his life with my pregnancies and then have the nerve to screw with his brains. Does he think your children were born without his participation? I don't know what he's counting there, but I'm already afraid of him. Marina talked to her parents that same evening. Oksana needs to be saved. Her husband is hurting her. Daughter, you shouldn't interfere in someone else's family. Dad shook his head. In any case, you'll end up guilty. They'll figure it out themselves. Where is she with 3 children? Mum added. It's okay. They'll get along. They're just young, while they're hot. Marina didn't stop there. She went to Oksana's parents. They would surely protect their daughter and wouldn't let anyone harm her. But her cousin's mom and dad told her roughly the same thing, her own parents. No one was going to help Oksana. There was no help to be expected from anywhere. Oh well, Kazina waved her hand when Marina told her about her attempts to reach out to adults. My mother is right. Everyone lives like this. He doesn't beat me, doesn't drink, he earns money. We'll get by somehow. Some time had already passed. Marina was already married to Sergei at that time and raising her own children. Oksana called her in the middle of the night. He almost sent me to the next world. The young woman sobbed into the phone. I barely escaped. The children managed to take us away. I'm so scared. I can't go to my parents. He'll look for us there first. I just have no one else to turn to. Of course, Marina helped her sister. For a while, Oksana and the children lived in her and Sergei's apartment. Her husband was on a long business trip. It turned out Oksana's husband had been abusing her for a long time, but she tried to convince herself it was normal. She believed it was all her fault because she had nowhere else to go. She couldn't expect any support from her parents. They responded to all her daughter's complaints. They replied that it was all nonsense, that she'd get used to it, that she'd grow used to it. They resented the idea of Oksana becoming a divorced woman with 3 children. What would the neighbors say? Marina helped Oksana find a rented apartment and a new job. She gave her some money to get her started. She had her own savings, a safety net for maternity leave. She supported her emotionally. She convinced her sister that she was innocent. She was the victim. It was her husband who deserved punishment. Incidentally, Marina and Oksana did eventually bring the enraged husband to justice. They documented the injuries and filed a complaint. As a result, the man was ordered to pay his wife a substantial amount of compensation for moral and physical damages. This money turned out to be very helpful for Oksana. Thanks to Marina's support, Oksana became an independent woman. She learned to respect herself and earn a living. A little later, she met a worthy man who fell in love with her and her 3 children. Oksana has said more than once that if it weren't for Marina, she would have simply disappeared. I was in despair. I didn't know what to do. I am here before you in duty. Those events truly brought the sisters closer. Marina had no doubt Oksana would be happy to help her carry out her plan. If anyone could be trusted, it was her. I never would have thought your Sergei was capable of such a thing. Oksana shook her head when Marina told her the latest news about her family life. The women settled down at a table in their favorite pizzeria. After talking with her sister, Marina felt a sense of relief. How beneficial it is to talk to someone close to you. I didn't expect it myself, but I saw it all with my own eyes, and I have photographs that leave absolutely no doubt, and I like your plan, Oksana praised. I'll be happy to help you smack this traitor in the face. Excellent. Then I'll transfer all my savings to you, with which you'll supposedly buy a house from me. Only the money there, of course, isn't enough. A mansion is worth much more. The deal needs to look plausible so as not to arouse suspicion. I have money too. We'll add up the amounts, and it should be enough. Excellent, thank you, sis. Marina began preparing the documents. She went to the realtor herself. The hardest part was lying to his face. Marina explained that her husband was a very busy man, and so she was handling the sale of the mansion. Cold sweat ran down her back. What if the realtor figured it all out? She'd never been good at lying. She'd been told that often. But the realtor didn't suspect a thing. Perhaps the substantial reward for his efforts played a role. He was simply preparing the property for the second owner, a package of documents for him to sign. Marina looked at the folder of papers. A purchase and sale agreement. The title of the document was written in large, bold letters. How on purpose? How could she get Sergei to sign the agreement? He was used to carefully reading everything he signed. Otherwise, he wouldn't have achieved such heights in his career. That very evening, life itself presented Marina with a wonderful opportunity. It seemed fate was favoring her. Sergei returned home late, drunk and very cheerful. Marina caught the scent of a woman's perfume, faintly penetrating the scent of her husband's perfume. So he was with her again, as he was almost every evening. It seemed the couple had a good time. And look at how happy the husband was. Marina realized she had to take advantage of her husband's good mood. And in such a state, too. It's now or never. Hello, darling, Sergei said slurringly. Sorry, I had a little to drink today. We were celebrating a successful deal with colleagues. Marina smiled. He had just lied to her about being with colleagues, but the woman didn't care anymore. I have a favor to ask of you. Will you be my guarantor for the loan? The loan? Sergei smiled blissfully. His eyes were cloudy. He was clearly not thinking clearly. Excellent. That's what Marina needs. The loan. Yes, I want to open my own business. A center to prepare children for school, so I'll give you the money. The man shrugged and collapsed onto the sofa. Another moment, and he would fall asleep. We need to hurry. But I want to do it myself. You understand? All by myself. Like you, I want to achieve something on my own. Like me. Sergei's face blurred again, smiled. It was clear he was flattered by his wife's words. That's good. Well done. You'll succeed. Marina handed her husband the contract and a pen. He tried to concentrate on the text. The woman gasped and pretended to trip and fall. Had she been drinking? 2. Sergei burst out laughing at his own joke and signed without looking. He was done. Usually, a man was more attentive to documents, but he clearly didn't expect a trick from Marina. Sergei felt safe at home. The number of the alcohol her husband had consumed the night before. Everything had worked out perfectly. On the table lay the purchase and sale agreement, signed by Sergei. Now, if the case went to court, even a handwriting analysis wouldn't be a problem. Marina lay in bed, trying to sleep, but her feelings and emotions wouldn't let her relax. The signed agreement lay under her pillow. Her husband's voice could be heard from the living room. Tomorrow, he wouldn't even remember signing any documents. Marina knew her husband well. He'd wake up with a headache and ask her for a pill. The woman will act as if nothing had happened. The moment of her triumph is just around the corner. The deed is done. A spectacular scene can be staged tomorrow. But Marina decided to wait. Their wedding anniversary is coming soon, her favorite holiday until recently. A better moment to clear everything up and finally end the relationship. And you couldn't imagine. Sergei was driving home from a music was playing softly in the car, something unbearably tearful and romantic. The man changed the radio station. His soul was uneasy. Alyona had started it again. Scene. I get so little attention, she sobbed, wringing her hands. A beauty. Even with her eyes swollen from tears and her hair disheveled, she looked gorgeous. Actually, that's why they were still together. And what started the hysteria? Jealousy was to blame again. Lately, Alyona had been increasingly jealous of Sergei's relationship with his wife. It seemed their relationship was becoming too serious. Something had to be done about it. A pleasant, casual affair was turning into something burdensome and threatening his marriage, but Sergei had no intention of divorcing Marina. Why? He was happy with everything. He had a wonderful wife, with whom he wasn't ashamed to appear in any company. A full house, 2 successful children. Alina was just a distraction. He was grateful to her for giving him the opportunity to feel young, strong, and practically omnipotent. And, by the way, he didn't skimp on gifts. He'd already spent a fortune on jewelry for his girlfriend, and she still couldn't get enough. And today had been such a wonderful evening. After work, they stopped at a restaurant, where we had a delicious dinner. Then we went to Lena's. Everything was just perfect. Just before Sergei left, she managed to tell her that he would soon be leaving town for a week. Naturally, Lena was interested in the reason. He answered truthfully, without considering the consequences. It would have been better to lie about the business trip. Sergei had prepared a surprise for Marina for their wedding anniversary, booking tickets to her favorite resort. He wanted to please his wife. No. And besides, he felt guilty about what he was doing. Sergei had planned the perfect trip. A luxurious hotel room on the coast awaited him and Marina. Exciting excursions. His wife needed some time off, otherwise she spends her days at that school. Then she sometimes drags notebooks home and grades them until late at night. He'd been suggesting she quit her job for a long time, but she wouldn't have it. A resort. Alyona looked at him with wide eyes that quickly filled with tears. And me? What about me? You know, it's my birthday these days. I'll transfer you some money and you can celebrate with me. Franz. Sergei hastened to assure, already realizing that he had said too much. You're buying your way out again. Alyona's beautiful face flushed with anger. What kind of pleasure is it to spend a whole week by the sea with this hen? I'd give her a ring or earrings and be done with it. I need more attention. I'm bored, alone. Listen, don't forget, Marina is my wife after all, and I'm just a mistress. You know how many men would dream of being by my side? Sergei knew perfectly well that Alyona was right. A beautiful girl really, as she drew everyone's attention, and she took advantage of it, never missing a chance to remind Sergei that she was easy to lose. Oddly enough, the man didn't want that. He knew rationally that Alyona would leave, another young beauty would appear, and he wasn't planning anything serious with this girl. But some instinct kicked in, a sense of ownership, probably. And every time these moments happened, he tried to hold on to Alyona, fulfilling all her demands. But not now. Alyona, my wife and I are going on vacation. I understand you don't like it, but ... I'll have to accept it. How I hate her. The girl hissed furiously. And you too. True. A moment later, Alyona was already holding Sergei back with kisses as he headed for the door. Forgive me. I didn't mean it that way. Just don't go. I love you so much. Alyona didn't want to let go of her generous, influential admirer. Sergei understood her motives. For him, they didn't really matter. After all, the man and the girl had made up. It was beneficial for both, each for their own reasons. And now Sergei was driving home, thinking about the conflict that had just unfolded. It's probably time to end this relationship. It won't lead to anything good. Of course, he's drawn to laziness, like a beautiful young woman, but she's been throwing so many tantrums lately. In all their years of married life, Marina has never driven him crazy like this. And now there are constant scandals, jealousy, scenes, hysterics. Of course you won't get bored with such a woman, but these emotional storms are too burdensome and tiring. It's good that there is a home, a quiet haven where it's always calm, cozy, and safe. There was something special within the walls of the mansion, a peaceful atmosphere. Sergei loved this place with all his heart. He always enjoyed coming back. Here it was his place of power, where he could take a break from all the troubles of life and work and recharge. Lights were on in the windows. Marina was probably sitting on the couch watching her favorite TV show or grading her notebooks. A delicious dinner was waiting for him on the stove. Quite a while had passed since his visit to the restaurant. Sergei was hungry, and Marina was such a delicious cook. Not to mention Elena, even her simple scrambled eggs would burn. Sergei personally taught her how to fry potatoes and make a simple soup, but he failed. Either Sergei's a lousy teacher, or Elena is an incredibly untalented student. "Cliff, how are you?" Marina looked up from her notebooks. The light from the desk lamp revealed all her first wrinkles. When had they aged so much? Being with his wife, Sergei realized he himself was far from young, which was why he was so drawn to Lena. "Everything's fine. I was late at work." "I see," Marina replied, and returned to work. To Sergei, he thought he saw a glimmer of a smile in her eyes when he said he'd been sitting at the office too long. No, that can't be right. Marina trusts him completely. If she'd suspected anything, she would have definitely spoken up already. She's a straightforward and sincere person, like an open book. They haven't been communicating much lately. Before, his wife constantly pestered him with talk about school and the kids. Sergei didn't know where to escape these conversations, and now there's silence. Oh well, she's probably just tired and overworked. His surprise wedding anniversary trip to the seaside will suit them both for the good. And so the long-awaited day has arrived. Their wedding anniversary. 23 years together. A respectable time. But their marriage will definitely not last until their silver wedding anniversary. After all, part of the surprise Marina had prepared for the significant date was the already filed divorce petition. Any day now, Sergei will receive a court summons. Marina didn't go to work that day. She asked the director for time off, claiming illness. She still had a lot to do. She needed to properly prepare for the evening. After all, the woman had been waiting for this moment for so long. Finally, no more she'll have to pretend to be a good wife and tolerate this traitor's presence.
Finally, Sergei will understand that she's not stupid or simpleton, and he'll get what he deserves. Marina's spirits were high. She pulled Sergei's 2 large suitcases out of the closet and methodically began packing his things into them. She filled one bag completely with clothes and shoes, and put her husband's CDs, books, and documents into the other. Of course, some of Sergei's things were still in the house, but Marina collected the essentials. The rest would come later. Everything at once. The woman rolled the now unwieldy suitcases into the living room and wrapped them in a wide, pre-purchased blue satin ribbon. On top, she stacked the photographs the detective had taken. She'd printed them out in a large format so they would immediately catch the eye. It turned out just as Marina had wanted. Impressive, beautiful, even stylish. The woman took the photo for Oksana. Oksana had really asked her to. Her sister immediately sent a message with a bunch of emojis. That was how she expressed her approval. The support of a loved one was more important to Marina now than ever. Marina had no thoughts that she was doing wrong or dishonest. She mentally prepared herself for her husband to start accusing her. Of course, the best defense is a good offense. But Marina wouldn't let herself forget for a second that it was Sergei who had betrayed her. It was rapidly approaching evening. Sergei would be home soon. He definitely wouldn't be late today. It was their wedding anniversary, after all. Especially since her husband had hinted this morning that he was expecting her this evening some kind of grand surprise. If only he knew what a gift awaited him. Marina prepared Sergey's favorite dishes for dinner: Greek salad, baked chicken with potatoes. Her husband had often said that he liked her cooking much more than the gourmet restaurant treats. Well, let him indulge, and only then, would she tell him about her surprise. The woman went into the bedroom. Sergey would arrive any minute. She needed to get ready. Marina put on a dress that flattered her figure and concealed her flaws. Yes, now she has her flaws. She's no longer the Reed she was in her youth. But that's no reason to take a mistress. Marina applied light makeup, fixed her hair, and looked at herself appraisingly in the mirror. She was satisfied. A beautiful middle-aged woman. The key turned in the lock. It was Sergey. Marina came out to greet her husband with a gentle smile. "You look wonderful," Sergey sincerely admired. In his hands he held a luxurious bouquet of white roses, Marina's favorite flowers. "Thank you," the woman smiled. "Our food is so delicious." "It smells," the man noted. "The aromas coming from the kitchen are simply divine. I've already set the table. Come in." The husband and wife had dined. Sergey made several toasts about how lucky he was with his wife. Marina, however, was much more reserved. Singing the praises of a traitor was beyond her strength. "Is something wrong with you?" Sergey inquired worriedly. "You're kind of strange, silent." "Everything's fine." "You're just tired," Marina sighed. "You need to quit this stressful job already," the man declared. "I've been telling you this for a long time. You're the one talking. He's the hard worker in our family. You're the one who's always sitting at the office, constantly running around on business trips." Marina noted with pleasure that her words had confused her husband. Most of the business trips were a disguise for trips with Alyona to resorts. And as for the evening delays, well, there's no need to even mention them. "Marish, I have a surprise for you," Sergey suddenly smiled. "I think you'll be delighted. Honestly, I'm so curious about it. But you can. I'll go first. I have a gift for you too. It's very nice. It's in the living room. Go, look." Sergey went into the next room. The door was closed so that her husband wouldn't see the surprise ahead of time. But now the right moment had come. Marina followed Sergey. She really wanted to see the expression on his face when he realized what was going on. "What's going on?" Sergey stared in bewilderment at the packed suitcases. There were photos on them. Someone had taken a picture of him and Alyona. "How is this possible?" "You understand perfectly well what's happening," Marina sighed. "What's happening is that I've learned about your betrayal and I don't want to go on to be under the same roof with you. I've packed your things. Get ready and leave my house." The woman had never seen her husband so confused. He didn't even pay attention to the phrase, "leave my house," at first. "I don't know who told you what, but it means nothing to me. I love you, I love our children. I will do everything for you. Our relationship is the most precious thing to me." "Really?" Marina raised her eyebrows in surprise. "I didn't notice something, but I know that you've been with her for a very long time. I know about your business trips and late work hours. What's going on? I even saw you together. It's a mistake. Everyone makes mistakes. You knew how much Robert's betrayal hurt me. And you treated me the same, even worse. At least we weren't married. I lost so much health back then. Didn't you think about my feelings and what could happen to me when you started this affair? But it's your own fault. You're also to blame for all of this. You weren't interested in my affairs at all, only in your school." She chatted, and talked about children. She also gained weight, stopped taking care of herself. "And I'm a man, I need love, attention, care. I had to make up for it on the side. I expected that you would try to blame me for everything, Marina sighed. True, I still hoped that you would be above this. But no, go away quickly. Okay, I can't be under the same roof with you anymore. I've put up with it for so long. And why should I leave my own home? Sergei flared up. You can't stay here with me. Leave yourself. This is not your home anymore. It's mine, or rather, not mine yet. But after we sign all the documents, it will be completely mine. What? And that's another part of my surprise. Marina handed her stunned husband a folder with documents. It contained a copy of the purchase agreement for the mansion and a divorce petition. How cleverly you arranged everything. I would almost be amazed. Sergei shook his head. The signature is definitely mine. You don't even need an expert opinion. When did I sign this? When I came back tipsy from my mistress? And you took advantage of it? I trusted you. Me too. As for you, I trusted you. I considered you the closest and most reliable person. It was very hard to find out that I was so wrong. Marin, come on, let's forget about it. Let's just get over this and move on with our lives. I can't. Everything is so simple for you. And then I'll have to worry about it. Either you went on a business trip, or you ran off on vacation with another mistress. No, thanks. I'll sue, Sergei suddenly declared. You won't get my mansion. That's unfair. I earned it. I'll prove that I signed the document while effectively incapacitated. I'll hire the best lawyers. Try it, of course, Marina shrugged. It's unlikely you'll succeed, but it's your right to try. Right? Sergei asked. Really? Then the children will find out the real reason for our separation. I've prepared a beautiful story for them that we simply decided to live separately. We've become too different. It happens. And you nobly left your house to your wife. We will remain good, loving parents to our son and daughter and will behave like civilized people. If there's a trial, I assure you, all the dirt will come out. Out. Irina and Matvey will find out about your affair. And they won't be the only ones. Colleagues, friends, relatives, everyone will find out about everything. And I even have photographs as proof. Do you need that? Instead of answering, Sergei grabbed his suitcases and silently left the house. If you liked this story, subscribe to stay up to date with new heartfelt stories and leave a comment. I'm always interested in your opinion.